Now, painting white can be one of those tricky colours to get right, but if you're looking for some super speedy, effective, quick ways of painting white, then I've got you covered. I'm Peachy, and this is Peachy Tips. Now, this guide all starts from the simple use of a white undercoat. There are many ways out there showing you how to paint white. All of them are great. This isn't the only way of doing it. It's just my speedy way of doing it. One I've refined from trial and error. It starts with a white undercoat. I use a handful of colours for the armour. So I'm going to be using some black for picking out all the undersuits. And I'll be using like some silvers to pick out the guns and stuff. Whatever colours you want to use for markings, I kind of do that at this point. And then I go over and tidy it with some white, because inevitably when you are doing this kind of stuff, you're going to be messy. And that's kind of part and parcel of this journey, which we'll see very soon in the paint guide. It's okay to be messy. I want to make that quite clear, because the tidying up is where actually a lot of the neatness will come. And then it's just using a shade. Now, traditionally for my white armor that I've always done, I use Soul Light Grey, which is a Citadel shade. There are many other alternatives out there. So as long as you get like an off-white kind of shade, or something that's just a little bit darker than like an off-white, it'll be fine. As long as it kind of defines the edges. That's kind of really what we're trying to do here, is we're using the white undercoat and just defining the edges, a bit like a pin wash, or sort of like a recess shade or something like that. But I'm just doing it all over because it's speedy and quick, and it's army painting with a little bit of a dry brush at the end. But I'm waffling on, I know that. Let's just dig straight into the paint guide, and you'll see how it all comes together. Now, I am going to do a Space Marine and a Stormtrooper. I'll kind of like jump between the two, but really it doesn't matter what your canvas is. It could be like an Austrian from the Napoleonic Wars. It could be a Sister of Battle. It could be anything in white, really. It doesn't matter. The method is the same. And if you don't have like a black undersuit, skip that bit. So, right, let's crack on and do some painting. Now, as I mentioned, I will be starting from a white undercoat, and the first thing really I'm going to be doing is get myself some black. Now, you can thin down some black, so if you've got like matte black or whatever, you can thin that down with a bit of water, or you could use grim black, which is what I'm using here. So that's a speed paint. You will need to do a couple of coats, but really for like things like the gun, it's more just to get in the cracks, because I'm going to put some silver over that in a bit. But like things like all the joins, all the bits you can see, like the undersuit, certainly for the Stormtrooper here. Now, it's going to be messy. That is kind of something to bear in mind when you are doing this. You are going to get black on those white bits, and it's a lot easier to do at this stage, certainly from a tidy up point of view, because all you need to do to correct that is get white paint. It's a white undercoat, and you just need white paint to correct it. But we'll come to that in a bit. But yes, that's the process I'm doing it. It's just picking out all the black bits. Now, if we go to the Space Marine, again, very similar. It's a white scar I'm going to be doing here. So it's white armor. It's going to have a black undersuit. Again, it's going to be messy. Going to pick out the gun, obviously, pick out all the other details like the knife and stuff. There's details around the helmet. Now, if you didn't want to do a white scar, you could always, pick out the eagle black if it's one of the other many chapters, which I can't remember off the top of my head because there's so many. But yeah, just work your way around. Take your time. Have some fun. Now, with all the black undersuit bits done, I'm just going to quickly pick out the gun here. Now, the reason for doing the gun now is there's a chance, and a really, really strong chance, I'm probably going to get some silver on the white. So if I do the gun now, when it comes around to doing the tidy up stage for the white, I'm doing it all at the same time and not jumping between like, oh, I've got some silver on it now, I have to tidy back up with white again. It's up to you how you do it, really. But I tend to find if I do all my awkward bits now, then I can tidy it with white later. Certainly with markings, we'll come to that with the Space Marine in a moment. When it comes to like doing markings on the Space Marine, I kind of do that before I do the tidy ups as well. But yeah, just pick out the guns, knife, whatever you are painting, whether that's a Space Marine, Stormtrooper, Clone Trooper, does not matter. So after that, it is picking out any markings. So on my white scar here, they have like a red chest eagle, so I'm going to pick that out. Again, if I'm making any mistakes at this point, I can tidy that back up with some white. And then when it comes to the markings on the greaves and the knee pads, again, depending on what kind of company you're doing and what kind of squad you're doing, I think this is first company 4th squad, or is it 7th squad? I can't remember. I saw one and I picked it and it was easy, so that's what I went with. Now, the great thing here is if I'm making mistakes with the red, I've not done any shading yet. I've not done any washes or whatever. So when I come to using the white, it is just the same as the undercoat because it's matte white. It's a matte white spray. It might look different when it initially applies. It might look a bit brighter, but actually when it does dry and you put the wash on, you won't notice it at all. So yeah, just tidying up with the markings with some of that, and then just go around tidying up the rest of the bits where I've splodged with lots of black, because that does happen. In fact, I will be surprised if it doesn't happen. If you're super neat, then fine, that's cool. But if you want to try and get things painted quite quickly, then don't be so stressed about going over the lines, because the tidy up stage is kind of the key part of this, really. Is like, you can be messy at this point. But yeah, just go around, find any bits where you've got a bit of black on like some armor or like some red on some armor, or you just need to tidy up that marking or whatever. Yeah, just work your way around. Now that I've done all the tidying up, what I am going to do on the marking specifically here for the white scar is I'm just going to sponge some white on. The reason for doing that is it kind of looks like little flicks and chips and stuff. And if I get a bit too heavy-handed with it, which I probably will, like you can see on the greave here, I can tidy that back up with some red if I need to, or if I'm happy enough with it. Now, the reason for doing the markings at this point, when I do apply that Soulblight Grey, that will actually shade the red. So there are certain colours it won't work so well with. So if you do like dark colours, like greens maybe, or dark blues, it's not going to show up so well. But oranges, yellows, it will give it a nice little shade as well and kind of tighten with the rest of the model. That's why I kind of do it at this point. I'll do all my markings now, and then I will wash the whole thing. Speaking of the wash, that's what I'm going to do now. So with the Stormtrooper, what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to apply that quite heavily onto the Stormtrooper and just move it around with a big brush. But something I learned from Richard Gray a little while back, because he does a lot of oil washes, he did a thing with contrast where he applies a little bit of water onto the model. So on like the shoulder pad or the helmet, if I just drop a bit of water, it will just allow that shade to flow into the cracks a bit more, but also stop any blemishes on those large sort of domed areas like shoulder pads. And the same with the Space Marine. In fact, it probably works better with the Space Marine because you've got larger shoulder pads, larger surface areas. So applying a little bit of water to those areas, don't have to be a lot, just a little touch here and there, it will spread that shade more into the cracks and then just give a bit more of a lighter, softer, less blemished surface on those details. So as you can see, it's all dry. What I'm going to do here is just on the Stormtrooper, I'm just going to get myself a little bit of white on a dry brush. I'm just going to flick over some areas. Now, there is going to be a chance I might get this on the gun. I might get on some of those areas I painted black, but they're quite prominent areas, so I can easily correct those without getting it on the white. But I'm going to try and be mindful not to. I certainly did it on the other models. I was a bit more careful with those. I always find when I'm doing stuff for camera, I panic. Clearly, but yeah, just work your way around a little bit of a dry brush. Just it'll help tidy up some of those areas that may be a bit blemished, and also give you extra little teeny tiny bit more white on the edges if you need it. And then after that, I'm just going to do some chipping, some extra chipping. So on this Stormtrooper, and I'll do it on the Space Marine as well, I'm just going to get myself, you can use off grey or like a dark grey. I'm using like a browny kind of grey colour. It's called Dark Olive. It's one of the World War II paints from Army Painter. And it just looks like chipped enamel. So I'm just going to get some sponge, a bit like a dry brush, like you would apply with a dry brush, you remove some paint off it. I'm just going to just stab that onto the areas. In some places I might get a bit carried away. Again, I can tidy back up if I really wanted to. There we are. Really simple, straightforward. The biggest part really for me, I found, or the time consuming part, is picking out all the black undersuit. Now, from a time point of view, the Space Marine took me about 30 minutes to do. Most of that was like faffing around on the markings, really, if anything. The 5 Stormtroopers, obviously I showed you doing one, but I did all 5 at the same time. That was like an hour to do, because obviously I was jumping between the two, doing some shots for photography, for the video, but also just, it's the thing that takes the most time, and it might feel like a bit of a slog to start off with, is doing all that black in the recesses and then thinking, oh, I've made a mess here, I've made a mess there. But when you get to doing like the white tidy ups after like picking out the guns and stuff, honestly, that goes super quick. You'll be surprised how quickly that goes. And if you are doing like Ahsoka troopers or whatever, and you've got like face markings or any kind of clone troopers really, those bits will slow you down because you want to make them look right or you want to be neat. Now, markings do take a bit of time, and if you do fluff it up, that's kind of fine because you will do your white tidy ups after that. And if your line isn't particularly straight or it's a little bit wibbly wobbly in places, you can just go back over some white or do some sponge chipping like I do in the video. I often use that as like a camouflage kind of technique, not like to hide someone, but to hide the mistakes. That's what I mean by the camouflage part. So if I've got like a line that's a little bit fat on one side or a little bit skew width, just by doing some chipping down that line, kind of hides that mistake. It distracts and distorts. It's all illusion. It's all illusion. So yeah, don't stress it basically. Just wait until you get down to doing like the tidying up and the sponge chipping the white and maybe some sponge chipping of armor. Now, although I did my Stormtroopers white with a little bit of chipping to make them, because I want them to be remnant, because I've got ideas for the future. But if you wanted to kind of mimic the Stormtroopers that are kind of like the garrison on Navarre in The Mandalorian, it's a bit more yellow, the armor is a bit more dirty, just get yourself like a sepia wash or something like that and just apply that over once you've done all the other bits as well, because that off grey wash will give you a little bit of depth, and then do the sepia will give you that kind of yellowed tone. So if you want to kind of match that, You can easily do that with a sepia wash. But as always, thank you very much for watching the video. It was a bit of a short one. I mean, it's an army painting guide on painting white armor for those of you who don't have much time. Certainly for me, I want to paint like 30 of these guys for like some upcoming games and stuff like that. So you don't want to be there forever, starting from like grey and building your way up to white and then shading back down to grey. That looks great if you're doing exhibition painting. Totally not going to like slate that, because it depends what you're doing it for, really. But if you want like lots of troops quite quickly, this is something. I can't think of a way of making this any more efficient. This is the most efficient from doing it loads, this is the most efficient I've come up with now. Like I said, time consuming part is just picking out those black bits. But that, you know, do a bulk of 5 in one go like I did, and then the next night do another bulk of 5, watch The Mandalorian or something like that whilst you're doing it. Honestly, it goes a lot quicker than you realise. But do, like I say, throw in any techniques or ideas that you've got for doing like white armor or all sorts of like weird and wonderful things. It's a free sort of forum for ideas, really. But yes, big loves to you all, big loves to the patrons, and I'll catch you in the next one, which might be painting a different coloured armor. It might be painting something entirely different. I don't know. I do want to do a bit of a chat about Legion at some point, because I do like Star Wars Legion. I've got a fair few things painted now, and this was kind of like scratching an itch to do some Stormtroopers, because I kind of want to do a 5 parsecs playthrough but Star Wars, and then stick a Mandalorian helmet on Rambo and call him the Rambalorian, and that's the character you're following, and he's taking on the Empire on his own. Well, kind of on his own. He'll have a few buddies with him, maybe like a rebel or two. Maybe, oh, I could have an old like warrior from the Clone Wars. Could do that. Could get Rex in there somehow. I've got so many ideas. I should have another channel, shouldn't I? I should do that other channel of gaming. I should have 2 Peaches. That's what I need. I need 2 Peaches. I need 2 Peaches to make this all happen, because I've got so many ideas and not enough time. Anyway, waffled. Bye. Love you. See you later. Catch you on the next one. Bye.